Good morning, you beautiful people. We're back at it with another stream. This morning, we're going to be doing a continuation of something from my daily sketchbook. This guy. So we're going to be doing this guy, but on a larger scale. So right now, this guy's just kind of this big. We want to make him this big. A bit bigger. So we're going to leave it here for reference. And we're essentially just going to redraw it in pencil and then ink it and then see where we go. But yeah, this is the idea for today. I originally had a booking today who cancelled on me, so we might be able to stream for a little bit longer than usual, depending on if this morning is busy. But I think we're gonna go with the usual half an hour to 1 hour. So let's pull out our essentials. We're gonna be using this mechanical pencil 2B, and we're also going to be inking it with a brush pen, so we'll leave that up here. And then we're also going to be inking with a micro pen, 0.05, super thin. And they're the three tools we're probably going to be using for most of today's stream, if not all of it. Just going to have a quick drink of water. Let's get into it. So we already have the idea in the personal sketchbook. Essentially what we're going to do, make it a bit bigger. Try not to rework too much of it, because I kind of like the idea of the simplicity of it. Mapping the ears. He's got a bit of a furrowed brow. And then of course the house is going to be chilling on his head here, depending on how big we want to make it. Make it smaller than before, make it bigger than before. The world's your oyster. Maybe about that big. And then map in. I like the Loomis method for drawing heads. I don't follow it too rigidly. This one I had this was just straight inked paper, which it surprises me every time I draw a face without a sketch, or just anything without reference that turns out to be semi-decent. Always surprises me. I'm always surprised. I'm like, oh man, that was with no reference. That was just with no sketch. That was just straight ink to paper. It boosts the confidence a bit when you do start doing that a bit more. When you start inking in the morning without any, just straight from imagination without too much thinking. So we got the nose here, pretty big nose. Some sort of a goblin, I think. So we're gonna map in the jaw. And since it's a mythical character, you can get away with changing facial features, making the nose bigger, making the jaw bigger, giving him gnarly teeth like we have here, giving him really small eyes or big eyes, Like, once you have an idea of what a face looks like, you can start to change and morph it into whatever you really want. And you'll see a lot of great concept artists do this as well. Like there'll be something almost like off about the head, but it's so off that it works. It's like, oh, that doesn't really look like a face. You know, no faces really look like that. But then, it kind of works. Because every character is like that. So it's uniform. But also, the more you start looking at people, the more you realize how few people actually match the standard of what you practice drawing from the internet, let's say. You look up images of people, and it's usually like beautiful people. You know, usually looking at models and stuff that are getting paid to do these events. But if you sit at a cafe or, you know, don't be weird about it, but you start looking at people's facial features, you realize, oh, some people have really big eyebrows, some people have really small noses, really small chins, you know, not everyone is uniformed the same, which is, you know, might be stating the obvious, but I think it's important to remind ourselves of such things. So I'm kind of mapping in whether I want to draw the tooth on this side, visible. The ear's a bit more gnarly. Round it off with this. The eyebrow, we're gonna do it around here. And then we can shade in the bits that are gonna get less light. The cheekbones. This side of the face is gonna be in the dark. Of course, this part of the nose is going to be rounded, same with here. I'm going to have that little circle here where the light hits the top of that nose. So I'm still kind of breaking this down into simple shapes. This is how I visualize all drawings. And it's good to train in different ways. Like sometimes I'll do just light and dark visualization drawings where I don't even think about the shape. That's fun too, and I've done nearly a whole sketchbook full of that. But I think just like intuitively I go back to imagining 3D objects in space. And I think it's good to do both and see what you're more comfortable with. But I think if I'm copying something, it'll be light, focused, intuitively, and if I'm doing something from imagination, it'll be 3D object. Which kind of makes sense in a way, because you want to be able to know how the shape is in space if you want to really imagine it, instead of just visualizing the light of the shape. You know, is this part dark, is this part light? But, you know, who are we to say what is right and wrong? So I'm contemplating now whether to make the chin smaller and bring the ear forward more. Have it clip back behind there. I think that makes a bit more sense. We just cut off this part of the chin here. And now for the house, we're gonna give them a little house here. We kind of haven't really done that yet. Now, if I remember correctly, I think I started with the house in the sketchbook in this one. I remember I just inked a little house and then I was like, what else can I do from here? Because boxes are really easy to just do on the fly. And you might be like, yeah, duh, it's just a box. But if you think about it a little bit more, if you're struggling with it, what to draw, just draw a box. And then build on the box. You know, boxes can be so much. It can be a suitcase. A box can be a house. It can be a door. There's so many things you can do. And you can shape it into. I think houses are just, I don't know, they're just classic. Fun to make. You can do a little window on it if we want. Put some shades in the window. And then this is going to be darker here. Same with this ear, it's going to be darker around this side here. And now I want to fix up this brow area. So I think it's going to come around like this. Eyes here. But I don't think that brow is going to supersede the nose. The nose is going to supersede the brow. Makes a bit more sense. We can poke the cheekbone out from next to the eye. And we can fix up all these sketchy lines on the side here. Make it a bit more clean. And then we have a pretty solid draft where we want to go. Let's do the eye. Eyebrow's gonna be rounded. Even just some like furrow marks. Very, it's been scowling, you know. Let's fix up the mouth as well. Some gnarly teeth. Probably gunky and chipped and stuff, so it doesn't matter if they're a bit imperfect. He's a goblin, let's be real. He doesn't brush his teeth. And let's use the eraser to highlight this tooth. Maybe one's bigger than the other, because he prefers to smoke on one side, who knows. Kind of like the idea of some like moss hanging down from his ear as well. Like he hasn't really like done much recently. They woke up from a slumber, but like this giant goblin slumber is like 80 years in normal time. So someone just built a house on his head, like a little cabin, and he just got up and he's got moss coming all over his ear. Fill in the areas that are going to be dark. He's got some warts and stuff. So it's going to be darker on the chin. Didn't mean for that to fall. Who knows, we might not even get into inking today. I'm having so much fun with pencil. You know, there's no rule to what you're supposed to accomplish. Unless you have a deadline, then you better get it done. But I've got no deadline for this, guy, so I think I'm just going to keep sketching until I have a pretty solid sketch and then ink it out. Still like the idea of moss hanging from his ear. Not quite enough for a tree to grow or something, but enough for like moss to accumulate. So this dark line, you just get rid of it. Don't need it there anymore. We've got his ear mapped in. I like the idea of having a chimney. Like someone actually still lives here and couldn't be bothered to leave in time. It's like, it'll be fine, it's just a little earthquake or something. And then they walk outside and they nearly fall off the guy. They almost fall off the goblin. My house is moving. This isn't where I built it. Goblin's still too tired to even realize that there's a house on his head. I mean, we usually think of goblins as like small creatures. But I think it's fun to break the common fantasy realm. You know what I mean? It's fantasy. Make it however you want. So yeah, goblins are supposed to be small and money hungry. You know what I mean? But like, what if goblins were really big and just lazy? You know, kind of like, what are they called? Orcs, but like giant, but not an orc. You know what I mean? What else can we add without adding too much? I think let's finish off this brow. I kind of went all out with this eyebrow. It's very large and in charge. Define the head a bit more. Maybe there's like some plants growing over here. Bit of hair. He's got some hair on his nose. Bit of hair coming out of his ear. What's coming out some hair on his head. almost done with this guy. At least for the pencil version. Do I draw a body? What kind of body would I draw? Yeah. Let's finish off the moss. I think the moss isn't mossy enough. I can actually just get rid of this bit here. Let the moss kind of hang over. Maybe it's not a lot of moss, maybe it's just a little bit. Just a little bit of moss. And one of my favorite parts of drawing is the wash. The wash. You just wash over everything. Makes everything else pop. Since you're going over everything, then the light parts stay light, the dark parts stay dark. You can always just go over it again if it's too dark or too light anyway. And it also kind of highlights where you're a bit more timid in your shading, where you can shade more, where you're a bit more timid in your details. Like instantly I'm seeing the nose here can definitely be a bit darker. Same with the eye can be a bit darker. And then the accentuated parts like the cheekbone can be highlighted a bit more. The nose here. This little crevice. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So we're going to raise his cheekbone a little bit. It's a little low. Okay. So it's going to sit around here. Yeah. Not too shabby. I mean, actually, he is very shabby. I'm not gonna. I take back what I said. He's very, very shabby. And the more you say that word, the weirder it sounds. Shabby. Doesn't sound like a real word. Let's fix up the chin a bit. Get it nice and sharp. So we can mog everyone with his jawline. That one was for the kids. Staying hip with the kids. I don't know how this line came to be. Here. Was that recently? I can just get rid of that guy. Or you can make it into a scar, but it was kind of weirdly shaped. So, I don't know, you can do what you want, but if you're following along, please send through your drawings. I'd love to see what you're coming up with. If not, that's all good too. Just sit back and relax. If you've got it on a side screen and just kind of seeing the process and checking in every now and again, welcome back. You know how like some people have that mole with one hair? You know what I mean? I got one. I got a couple of those. You got a mole on your face and it just has like one hair? I got a couple of those. Yeah, okay. What are we at with time? I might finish up soon. 35 minutes. I'm gonna have a quick break. Feel free to stick around. Have a chat to each other. I probably won't be streaming much more than 1 hour, so halfway through. If we're gonna keep going with this episode, we might actually add a neck, maybe some shoulders, but not too caught up with adding much more. Just kind of getting the details. I want to finish off this bottom jaw, get that sorted by the end of today, because I think the jaw in this one makes more sense than this one. But yeah, let me know, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the inked straight from imagination that took about 5 minutes, or the detailed reimagined that has taken about 30 minutes? You know, both have their pros and cons, I guess, or their beauties and horrors. But yeah, have a quick stretch and drink some water. for some tunes. Look at that tune. Yeah, look at that tune. Oh yeah. Very out of tune. That's alright. Anyway, I think we're gonna finish off there. End it off with a bit of a song. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. And I'll see you tomorrow for the next iteration of the Goblin Guy. Bye bye.